The Pittsburgh Steelers have won 4 games in a row, and they knock off the Washington Commanders 28-27. Welcome into the Bleav in Steelers post-game show here on the Bleav Network. My name is Mark Bergin. I'll be breaking down today's game between the Steelers and Commanders. Before we get too far ahead, though, let's pay some bills. Today's episode of Bleav in Steelers is brought to you by betonline.ag. We're into week 10 of the NFL season, and if you want to get in on the football action, betonline.ag is the place to do it. Head over to betonline.ag to get started today. BetOnline, the game starts here. Steelers winners today, and they've won 4 in a row. I want to break down the end of that game because it was incredible. The new guy, Mike Williams, scores his first touchdown as a Steeler on a go ball, on a play where the Steelers have to have it, one-on-one coverage. And I've said, who's going to be the guy that steps up in the passing game when teams focus their attention on George Pickens, who I thought played an outstanding game today? And it was Mike Williams on a go ball, delivering late in that game to give the Steelers the go-ahead score, to go ahead 28-27. Now, on the ensuing drive, the Steelers did a nice job defensively, getting a stop on 4th down, huge stop to where they get the ball back and they're able to run out the rest of the clock. I cannot believe Johnny Newton jumped on 4th and 1 to give the Steelers the first down to be able to run out the clock. He's a rookie. His best football is ahead of him. But the Commanders would have at least had the opportunity with less than a minute left and no timeouts to go pretty much the length of the field because it was clear the Steelers were just trying to get the Commanders to jump there at the end. Rookie mistake. His best ball is ahead of him. You learn from it. But the Steelers, now winners of 4 straight games, headed into the first division game next week against the Baltimore Ravens. A great place to be. And I thought the Steelers did a nice job rallying today. They were down 10 in the second half. They get an ensuing score. Najee Harris punches it in to cut the deficit to 3. And then Russell Wilson making just enough plays down the stretch to put it away for Pittsburgh. The big concern I have is Alex Highsmith. He went out with what looked like some sort of lower body injury late in the game. How quickly can he get back on the field? Nick Herbig's working his way back from a hamstring injury, and that's why you get Preston Smith to get more depth at the edge rushing position. Certainly you hope Highsmith is okay. It didn't look very good late in that game. But the Steelers find a way to win on the road against a team that's atop the division. And Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback. And I'm going to argue the fact that I think he might be even better than Lamar Jackson for the fact that he's a better passer. I do think Lamar is better with his legs. But you were coming into this game where there's similar styles of quarterback back-to-back weeks, and the Steelers have played Lamar really well. And we'll see if that can continue when the Steelers play the Ravens in week 11. But really fired up about this game. A few other thoughts that I had too. The first half, the offense wasn't very good. You had fewer than 100 yards of offense. A lot of people are going to make a big deal about the Steelers' fake punt and why did they call that there given the situation of the game. Good teams take advantage of opportunities. James Pierre, who I know is a cornerback, I know he's a backup and he's not a receiver. He's a pro athlete. He's an NFL player. If the ball is delivered on time and on target and he's wide open and there's no one lined up on him, I have no problem with the Steelers running the fake there because he has to execute that play, period. And the Steelers end up making up for it in the special teams game later on in the game when the Commanders punt returner, he actually bobbled 2 punts in the game. The first one he was able to recover, but then the Steelers get the ball on the second muffed punt, and they're able to punch it in for a touchdown, their second of the game, to Pat Freiermuth, who scored the first one of the game, going to George Pickens on an absolutely terrific catch on the outside. On an absolutely terrific catch by George Pickens. Pickens, I thought, played a great game. I thought Jaylen Warren played his best game of the 2024 season. Russell Wilson finishes 14 of 28 for 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. The interception, his first in, I believe it was 179 pass attempts. So I have no problem with the interception because it essentially served as an arm punt. Now, thankfully, George Pickens was able to get Jeremy Chin on the ground. They said that he touched him and it essentially served as an arm punt, but it was Wilson's first interception in his last 179 passing attempts. You got to take some risks down the field. I have no problem with that play, considering the Commanders then got the ball back on their 26 instead of the big return by Chin. Pickens got the guy down. I would have liked to see him dive to ensure that the player is down, but nonetheless, that happened. Jaylen Warren, again, I thought he played his best game. That fumble down on the goal line, he's got to find a way to hold on to the football. I know he's fighting for every inch, trying to punch it in the end zone, but I thought that was big. On the ensuing Commanders drive, I thought TJ Watt got held, and had they called that, perhaps it could have been a safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The refs don't call a penalty on that. But those were really my big thoughts from today's game, were all of those things. And from a big picture standpoint, you rally down 10 points in the second half. And the defense wasn't quite great today, but Russell Wilson able to rally the troops, and the new guy, Mike Williams, you love to see it, able to eat one-on-one on the outside. And that's why you acquire him. That's why you make that deal with the New York Jets. And it pays dividends in today's game. In his first game, a big touchdown for the go-ahead score late in the fourth quarter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's get into what Yins think. A lot of people checking in. Tony saying Coach T does not lose after a bye. It's a fact. Yes, Steelers coming into this game off a bye week. It's why I liked the Steelers to win, even as 2.5-point underdogs today. Tony, thank you for checking in. Scott saying Mike Williams with a black and gold hearts as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be fired up to see number 18 making plays on the outside for the black and gold. And that was just terrific. I was really, really fired up. So was Russell Wilson, and giving his guy a shot, giving his guy an opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing of what Russ has done since he's come in instead of Justin Fields. George Pickens today, 5 catches, 91 yards, a touchdown, 7 targets. Mike Williams caught the only ball thrown his way, the 32-yard touchdown late in the game. Jaylen Warren, 14 carries, 66 yards on the ground. He also had 2 catches for 29 yards. Najee Harris was held in check today. He had 21 carries for only 53 yards. He did have the touchdown. His long run, only 11 yards. I thought that the Washington Commanders defense played pretty good football, especially in the first half against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Harris had come into this game having run for at least 100 yards in each of his previous 3 games. So the Commanders did a really good job bottling up the Steelers' running game today. But other than the fumble, I thought Jaylen Warren played a really nice game for the Steelers and helped pick up the slack there in the running game at the running back position. Walter checking in, asking, don't understand why they let Russ throw to Jefferson over and over with Williams on the sideline. Walter, it is Mike Williams' first game. They just got him this last week during Tuesday's deadline. I'm sure he's still learning the playbook, and I'm sure that the Steelers will utilize Mike Williams more and more and more in the coming weeks. In the final year of his deal, but he made the play when it counted the most. You can't just learn a playbook immediately. Now, I know the coaches can instruct him of, hey, run this route, or this is what your responsibility is on this play. He's still in his 20s, still a young player in this league. He'll come on more and more and more and more and more in the coming weeks as he becomes more familiar with the system and more familiar with the playbook. So, Walter, thank you for checking in. Thank you for your comment. Scott checking in saying, game of inches, Minkah magic. Yes. Minkah Fitzpatrick doesn't have a takeaway in I don't know how many weeks. It dates back 2 seasons, but the tackle late in the fourth quarter, that essentially put the game away for the Steelers, because even if Johnny Newton doesn't jump and the Commanders get the ball back, they've got to go the full length of the field, or they've got to drive the ball into Steelers territory to set up what would have been a game-winning field goal. Less than a minute left and no timeouts. So that play, even if Newton doesn't jump, that stop that Minkah magic Minkah Fitzpatrick had to get the Steelers defense off the field and get the offense back on the field to be able to run out the rest of the clock was huge. That was probably the biggest play in the game today, or at least one of them. That, or I'd say the Mike Williams touchdown reception. Those were probably the 2 biggest plays in today's game. Tony asking, what can we do this short week to prepare for the loss of Highsmith? Yeah, it's going to be tough, and it didn't look good. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not sure what you mean by the short week because the Ravens and Steelers will play at Acrisure Stadium 1 p.m. Eastern time a week from today, Tony. So not a shortened week, but Highsmith, it did not look good. Perhaps the Steelers can get Nick Herbig back from his hamstring injury. Perhaps the injury is not as bad as it seemed to be, but it did not look good for Alex Highsmith towards the end of today's game. Certainly, you need he and TJ Watt, how crucial they are off the edge. And you hope he can get back onto the field, Alex Highsmith, as quickly as possible. Autumn checking in saying we rushed for 140 yards collectively. Yes, Cordero Patterson was back today, had 3 carries for 14 yards. And Jalen Warren was probably the most effective out of the backfield, 14 carries, 66 yards. Again, Najee held in check, 21 carries for 53 yards, but they all combined along with George Pickens, Russell Wilson for 140 yards on the ground rushing, outrushed the Commanders. Steelers had 140 yards rushing. The Commanders had 60 yards rushing. Jaden Daniels might not look great on the stat sheet, 17 of 34, 202 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, but Terry McLaurin, I really thought got the better half of Joey Porter Jr. today. McLaurin kind of went off, 5 receptions for 113 yards, but the Commanders didn't have another player have more than 33 yards receiving. So McLaurin had a really nice game for the Commanders, but other than that, that was pretty much it in the passing game for Washington. But McLaurin, there's a reason why he's considered like a top 10 receiver. And but look, the Steelers able to get it done defensively. I was worried when the Steelers gave up back-to-back touchdown drives, and it's like, oh man, could this be a long day because this defense wasn't getting it done? And then they rallied, and the Steelers answered every single time and then able to put it away at the end of the game. Casual Friday checking in. Hats off to DC. We beat a good team out there. Washington's going to be a playoff team. There's a reason why they're atop the NFC East. They'll battle for that division with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaden Daniels is going to be a really good quarterback. The stats might not be there today, but the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the league, and I thought Daniels more than held his own in this game. The Commanders are a good football team. I don't say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but the Commanders are a good football team. It had a playoff-like feel today to me, and it was big that you win today because you have this game against a team that's likely going to the playoffs, and then next week against Baltimore. Right now, I mean, Lamar and Jaden Daniels are probably the 2 favorites to win MVP. So you win this week against Jaden Daniels, who is by far the favorite to win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is in the MVP conversation. And then next week against Lamar Jackson, where the Steelers have won 7 of 8 of the last 8 against Baltimore. So it's huge. And next week, your first division game, it carries that added weight, but there's a little bit of pressure released, I think, having won this game against a team that is likely to make the playoffs. In my opinion, the Commanders are a playoff team, and you just beat them on the road in their building in what was a thrilling game, a very, very exciting finish. Autumn checking in again saying, when do we get when do we get back Nick Herbig? But hey, that's why we acquired Preston Highsmith if Highsmith or Herbig can't go. Yes, exactly. Preston Smith, you get him for depth reasons, though, a little bit older in his career. And I still need Alex Highsmith out on the field if he's healthy and ready. I know he's battled some injuries this year. Bleav it was a groin earlier this year. Certainly, you hope he can get back quickly. You don't want to wish a rush. You do not want to rush Nick Herbig back. Hamstring injury, rest. It just needs rest and time. I'm not a doctor, but those are the 2 things. And so maybe you can get Herbig back more quickly. We'll see what happens with Highsmith. I'm sure we'll learn more about that as the week progresses, probably by Tuesday when Mike Tomlin holds his weekly news conference with reporters. Casual Friday checking in. When we get Mike Williams into the rotation, we're going to open up more tight end and slot lanes, more big plays over the middle incoming. Yeah, I like to see the Steelers get the ball to Pat Freiermuth today. I know Darnell Washington got into the passing game. It was really, the acquisition for him was about getting another playmaker on the outside. You know that teams are going to double George Pickens. So in those other one-on-one matchups, who wins those matchups? And Mike Williams won that on that go ball. It was a beautiful pass from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, just his game acumen, knowing what he needs to do, knowing when to take chances. I was fine with the interception today. And thankfully, George Pickens got Jeremy Chin to the ground. They ruled him down after what looked like a big return. That's essentially a punt. You take your chance down the field because if you complete that pass or if it's a pass interference, you flip the field. It's essentially an arm punt. You got to take some chances. I was totally okay with that interception. You go give George Pickens an opportunity because when you do, go look at that first touchdown catch he had today. Among his best catches. And it seems like week after week, Pickens has a catch where it was like, wow, the body control yet again. And there's a reason he's a special receiver. And it's the reason why Russell Wilson has elevated the Steelers offense from when Justin Fields was playing. And it's as simple as this. It's not that Fields played poorly. I actually thought he played pretty well. But Wilson is consistently getting the football to the Steelers' best offensive playmaker, and that is George Pickens. It's as simple as that. And it's giving him an opportunity on the outside when it's a one-on-one to say, I'm going to trust my guy to go make a play versus the defender he's going against. It's as simple as that with Russ. Walter checking in again. Biggest problem is the line. Plus league has an answer for TJ now. Double team and chip blocks every snap. Someone else has to eat, whether it's Highsmith, whether it's Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward got into the mix too. Look, 27 points against this Commanders offense. They're putting up big numbers where they're scoring more points and they barely punted this season. I'm with you, Walter. Yeah, I want to see TJ Watt gets the quarterback more frequently, but if he does garner that attention in the pass rush, if it's Highsmith, if it's Keanu Benton, if it's Cam Hayward, someone else has to step up. Nick Herbig, who's made the most of his opportunities when healthy. Someone else has to, because that's going to happen regardless, just given TJ Watt's ability on the outside. And I would the criticism I would have with TJ Watt with regards with the conversation of TJ Watt would be this. The referees got to actually start calling some of these holding penalties. That's my bigger concern than what teams do to double team and triple team him. Call some of the holding penalties that if you actually pop on the tape where it's like, oh, it's late in the game, let's not call this. Nah, you have to ref him straight up. It's almost like how Shaquille O'Neal was refereed in his basketball career. Same thing. That's my bigger concern with TJ Watt is how he is being reffed than what other teams are doing against him offensively. Walter, appreciate the comment. Thank you for checking in. Autumn is saying she's proud with how the Steelers battled back to beat Washington. Gutty performance down 10. Yeah, and the Steelers, Autumn bringing this up too, looking at the box score here, looking at the team stats. The Commanders had 242 yards of total offense. This has been a very good offensive unit this year, among the league's best. And you held Jaden Daniels to 50% completion percentage. He was coming into this game above 70%. So you hold him in check and you do just enough to be able to put it away. The Steelers offensively had 312 yards total, 140 yards on the ground, 172 yards in the air. And the Steelers, one time of possession today, had the ball for more than 36 minutes against the Commanders. Big time stuff right there. Steelers on third down too. This was a big one too. 7 of 16, but the Commanders 5 of 14 on third down in today's game. So Steelers do a nice job on third down and getting off the field defensively and sustaining drives offensively as well. Lifelong fan saying we should have won by more. The fake and the fumble hurt us. The fake field goal, again, my opinion is this. Good teams are aggressive when given opportunity against other teams. James Pierce, an NFL cornerback, when he's wide open, no one lined up on him, you have to catch the ball in that scenario to pick up the first down. I have no problem with the fake punt there because you have to be aggressive. You can't say, oh, well, what if the worst happens? Ball's right there. Go make a play. Secure the football, then worry about running about it. And it's not like they tried to do that with a man lined up defending him. He was wide open. Make the play. And then the fumble by Jaylen Warren. Lifelong fan, I'm right there with you. Maybe you win by more at that point. My name's Mark Bergin. This is the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Ahead on this week, we're going to get you ready for Steelers and Ravens, the NFL's best rivalry. I cannot wait, and the Steelers have had tremendous success against the Ravens, having won, I Bleav it's 7 of the last 8. If I'm mistaken, if that number is wrong, please let me know in the comments. But 7 of the last 8, and you're at home at Acrisure Stadium, first AFC North game for the Steelers in the 2024 season. So we're going to get you ready for that. Steelers have won 4 games in a row now, and they're rolling, looking really, really good. And you get a win coming out of the bye week today against the Washington Commanders. My name is Mark Bergin. I want to thank today's presenting sponsor, betonline.ag. On Apple and Spotify, if you're not subscribed to Bleav in Steelers, do not miss out. Hit subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Go leave us a 5-star review. And on YouTube, we've got people after every single Steelers game here on the Bleav in Steelers postgame show tuning in. Join the community. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Got a big week coming up. We'll have guests here on Bleav in Steelers to get you ready for AFC North rivalry, Steelers, Ravens next week. Steelers winners today against the Commanders, 28-27. Again, my name is Mark Bergin. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. I'll see you this upcoming week. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.